afterwards. Okay.
Thank you.
So, welcome. Today we are talking about how to make corporate training unmissable, and how you can use some simple tools to make sure that your training that you're already offering to corporates stand out and make it easy for buyers to say yes to you rather than anybody else. Because the training content people provide is already very, very high quality, but there is a great number of training providers trying to catch the attention of corporate buyers. So how do we do that? The first thing is about us, who we are. My name is Marta. I'm the founder and CEO of Open CPD, and we help training count, and we help it leave a footprint by helping training providers offer recognizable, verifiable and auditable CPD certificates. We are now active across the world. We launched 2.5 years ago, and we are sector agnostic. We have many providers in many different sectors, and we operate in 32 countries. What I'm going to talk about today is what we have learned from our clients. I'm going to give you some very specific concrete examples, and also it is not specific to any industry. It's more the logic that we're following. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about why credibility of your training content is really important to corporate buyers, how to make it easy to provide that evidence, how to make it easy for them to say yes, because again, there are many confusing opportunities out there, and they need to we need to give them the tools to say, this is exactly what I want. It all boils down to a very simple structure. I'm going to talk a little bit about having clearly identified aims, skills, and outcomes. As training providers, that shouldn't come as a surprise, but I'm also going to show you exactly why that is so important for, again, corporate buyers, and why that should be front and center of your training and marketing offer. And also how you can turn what you already have with a couple of simple steps by providing the evidence and the verification of that value into an offer that is exactly what the corporate buyers want to hear. And I'm going to show you some real examples. So CPD is a very Anglo-Saxon term. In many professions in the UK need providers to collect CPD points, and increasingly corporates, HR managers, training leaders want to see if the training that people provide can offer valid CPD points. CPD stands for continuous professional development, but often it's referred to in other terms. So, for example, in the US, it's CPE or other verifiable lifelong learning type contents. It's very important that we're not talking about a specific qualification. We're talking about the huge variety of training that is offered today, and it can come in a great variety of formats. It could come in workshops, lunch and learns, webinars, coaching, mentoring. So it's really important that lifelong learning has a huge variety of different types of training, as well as adaptability to the particular corporate environment or particular needs of a buyer. It is a universal concept. As I said, in some countries they have different names, but the logic and the structure, every country is following the same. And this is something that we facilitate, or we actually build a platform for in Open CPD, and it's the learning that's important that I'm going to share with you today. One very important aspect, though, the magic words CPD often unlocks budgets. it's very simply, some corporate providers can source training provided it gives verifiable, auditable, professional development. And if you can offer that, then there may be budget available, or maybe a larger budget available. So it's very important to use those magic words in the right context to make sure that if there is budget for it, you can use it. That's particularly true for the public sector, healthcare, social care, financial sector. Often there is very specific budgets for this. And the main reason why corporate buyers like this, because what you're offering them is something measurable. So it's not just you want to make your training stand out, you want to make their life easy. So when their boss or their department asks, what have you delivered? If you can say that we have delivered so many skills and so many learning hours, and if they can provide the evidence easily, it makes their job easier. So again, what we are about is helping them to say yes. Before we go much further, people often ask us, where do CPD points come from? And that's a big, I guess it's a bit of a fog out there, because a lot of people think that there is some kind of regulator or authority, and that is just simply not the case. Not just for the UK. In the UK, where we're based and we're using UK best practices, there is no regulator or single authority. I will explain how different professional bodies manage CPD, the CPD process. But it's also unfortunately there is a large variety of institutions, organizations, companies that portray themselves or put themselves in a position that it's easy to assume that there are some kind of regulators and their authorities. That's not the case, and that's definitely not the case worldwide. So individual countries may and often do regulate very specific things, and we always advise our providers, our trainers, to be aware of what their local regulations are. It's different from every country and every sector or specific type of training. They need to be aware of what it is. But the vast majority of lifelong learning is not regulated. It's actually given to the training providers to provide the evidence. And what we are seeing in the UK and actually across many parts of the developed world is professional bodies want to see the evidence, and they want to make up their minds whether that particular training was relevant to somebody's professional development. Because if you can imagine, there are such a great variety of training. Simply the fact that you have received some kind of training may not be relevant to your job, your professional development, your career. It's not just the fact that it was good quality training. It needs to fit your needs and your development needs in the structure. So it's usually in the eye of the evaluator, the HR manager, the hiring manager, the recruiter, whether that particular training was relevant for that person and for that job. However, so with that, I think everybody in that position, what they want to be able to decide the relevance very quickly. What was that training all about? Was it long? Was it short? How was it delivered? How much can they expect that person to have improved during that training? And the more transparent the evidence is, the easier it is to evaluate how and where it fits. So the principles are universal, but in each country and each sector and each training setting, you might need to be aware of how to apply it. However, once you do that, it becomes a great differentiator, because not many training providers offer CPD points at the moment, and not many people offer the evidence. So at the moment, it's very much the minority. If you want to stand out, it's a simple and easy step. And again, as I was saying, the credibility of a training in the eye of an HR manager is not an extra logo, is actually the ability to see what they're buying, but also to see how it would help them in their career, saying, you know, I met my targets because this is how much I was able, specific training that I was able to provide to a certain group of staff. So I've been talking about the structure, and that structure is 3 simple things. And that's true for long training, short training, workshops, online, offline, blended, hybrid, whatever you do. Before you set out to design a training, and when you deliver that training, you need to have certain aims. And the clearer you can define those learning aims, the easier it is to partly to deliver them, of course, because you're going to be building your training material around that, but also to provide the evidence. And at the end of the presentation, I will provide some links where you can download some samples, some materials. We have quite a lot of help material we've put together just to make it easy. But when you're thinking about defining learning aims, you want to use a particular kind of language. It's not very difficult, but you need to make sure that the learning aims are clearly identified. And the matching part of the learning aims is the outcomes. At the end of the training, how will those learning aims will translate into practical, actionable, accountable, work-based activities? And in between them sit the skills. What have you taught? What skills can that person now practice all by themselves? Very simple things. We talk aim skills and outcomes all the time. If you want to know more, we run specific webinars on how to define good ones, and there will be some downloads available at the end as well. But the important thing is, most training providers do this anyway. They do it with their eyes closed, because how could you build good training content otherwise? The important thing is just pull it out and make it shine, because that's the backbone, that's the DNA of what gives the value to corporate training. So if you have identified it and you've defined it, there are 2 interesting ways of using it, and you might already be using one of them but not the other. And I just wanted to give you 2 ideas how you can do this in not just in evidencing what you have delivered, but as actually how to enhance your own marketing. Because it is possible to, obviously, if you have certain structured training content, you can easily provide the evidence. It's built in, and obviously it can be a whole variety of things. Don't just think training, it can be workshop, it can be a conference, anything that has helped somebody's professional development can be used for evidence and issuing CPD points. However, there is also another element which sometimes people and training companies use, because this is an opportunity to showcase your expertise, maybe on a shorter session. Maybe you want to, maybe you're a consultancy that has particular expertise in a niche area. You can train people on that. Even just give them a taster, because that's already putting you in front of them. It's also demonstrating what you're capable of, and of course helping promoting your brand. So don't just think the training itself. Providing CPD structured activities and providing people the evidence of what you have done is already helping you, and you can use it as part of your marketing. That one is, so we talk about specific structures where you can have a learn, earn and share element, because your attendees obviously learn the material, and there is an option to share some of the digital assets that are evidence of the training. In this particular case, that would be digital badges, which again, a form of evidence of the CPD training. They're very corporate, they're very popular in corporate settings now. And again, it's a quick way of encouraging people to, the attendees, to share their achievement. And of course, that helps both internally and externally to provide a bigger footprint for your training. I promised some real examples and why they work. And I picked them from different sectors. Some of them may be obvious and some of them are less obvious. The first one is, it is fairly obvious in compliance, in the fintech sector or in healthcare, in the legal sector, etc. A lot of training needs to carry CPD points. Again, even professional bodies now, for example, the Royal College of Physicians or the Law Society or the Royal Society of or RIBA for architects, they don't automatically accept a training as being valid CPD. They want to see the evidence. They want to see what was behind that training because it needs to be relevant to that particular person. And of course, in a corporate setting, in terms of career progression or recruitment, it's again coming back to relevance. So there is no particular professional body. So any kind of training you develop can carry CPD points and CPD value. And I've given some examples. So for example, the Blockchain and Climate Institute is a European institute that trains European institutions in climate management and the application of blockchain in that kind of thing. Very niche, very not common thing. But again, for example, they are training public sector clients, and it's very important for them to provide the evidence of what they trained on. Similarly, fintech marketing, there is a huge amount of compliance that happens in the fintech sector, and marketing into that sector needs to be aware of what the regulations are, etc. So when the fintech marketing platform offers training and conferences, they have chosen Open CPD to recognize the attendance of a major conference they held in London, Singapore, and New York earlier in this year. They were co-sponsored by Google, and they have chosen Open CPD to provide the evidence at that conference. Growthwheel is a South African company that trains small businesses on business management. For them, again, to get the funding that they needed for their programs, they needed to provide the evidence of what they delivered. Again, don't just think corporates. I mean, today we're talking about corporates, but they went in the social corporate CSI budgets, CSR, corporate social responsibility budgets. Again, it was very important for them to be able to provide the evidence, and it was very easy for them to do so by structuring their training the right way. This company is called Simon Academy. They are again compliance, cross-border compliance training. So if you think this structure CPD doesn't apply to you, think again. Let's work it out how CPD points and providing the evidence the right structure way can forward your training in the right sector. This slide is a little bit about us. We have built a platform that is optimized for this, and optimized, everything is optimized now. That's everybody's favorite word after AI. We don't actually use AI, or not much. Basically, we know what's important, and we stripped away everything that isn't important just to make it simple and easy and extremely cost effective to do the right thing. So we're not trying to come between you and your training. We're not trying to tell you how to do your delivery. We don't try to design training. We're not a training provider. We we don't offer training ourselves. We are just the icing on the cake. We are the platform that provides the evidence in a form that you can walk in any door and you can use it for providing the evidence of what you have done. The way we say it is that you deliver great training, we prove it, and we prove the value that you have delivered. So this is all about us. And as I promised at the end, at the beginning, I have some goodies that we have available. These slides will be emailed out to attendees, and we run regular webinars, so that's a good way of connecting with us. It's useful. We run specific topics, like this one is a slightly specialist topic, and sometimes we have just generic ones. And we also provide many downloads, but the one we have chosen for today is specifically on how to craft your course to make it accreditation ready. It will give you and a lot of worksheets and examples on how to do it. And my name is Marta. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to have a chat. And I'm going to stop the recording here.